ideally, the podcast is something that I would love for people to be able to turn it on and have information that would be relating to their businesses that they can get involved in and find some answers from it.
You can be very lonely in a very busy place. You can be surrounded by people, staff and clients, and like I said, when you're facing challenges is when you feel lonely, because who do you turn to when you're having to kind of exude confidence, make out everything's going really well, when actually behind the scenes it's you're missing information. You don't know what you don't know, and sometimes it's difficult to ask or to find out where that is. And I think our sort of quest at the very beginning was to make this affordable and to get to more people, because business education can be very expensive and it puts a lot of people off. So usually at a time when you need it most is when you've least got the funds and the time to invest, and that's where it becomes a challenge. So hopefully the podcast is a really easy, accessible space for people to be able to come, and over the course of delivering these, we should start to build up a sort of portfolio of information that they can dip into if they're thinking about pricing or wages or marketing or whatever. The assumption is that every salon owner once all the salons closing makes less clients. That isn't how it works. This isn't based on a zero-sum game. So for me to win, you don't have to lose. This isn't how this works. In fact, you need a strong industry.
All successful people have something in common, and that is that they're hungry.
Yeah.
You've got to be hungry for it, for you to stride and push yourself forward. If you've got teams that are not hungry, then you've got a problem to motivate.
And I play, I suppose, both sides of the fence. So if somebody's off ill, for whatever reason, everybody has to we phone all their clients, and I want to know how many people said they would wait for that person to come back in.
Yeah.
Because that's a measure to me, of how good they are. If they say, well, I'll have somebody else, well, you've not locked them in.
Yeah.
They're in love with the salon, not the person.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But also the fact of that the people who do come in, like I say, I play devil's advocate. So I then say, right, you've got Mrs. Smith in today, and she normally sees Jenna or whatever. Today's the day you're going to steal that client. You are going to go above and beyond. Because I don't like illness.
No.
I don't like sickness. And I want them to really think, I'm never having a day off because I've suffered.
Well, my question would be, can you make money in this industry?
Yeah, of course you can.
And I would say from my business, I would say yes.
Yeah, you can.
But you have to get some things
Yeah.
right. That's the business. And at the top of the business, you do tend to have the salon owner. There's the salon owner. And if we took, for instance, a business like our own, a salon, you have within the business
Employees.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 employees. Now, this person at the top is the salon owner, but they tend to work on the tools, don't they? That's one of the things that we tend to say. So they tend to have to cut hair. Now, this person at the top is sort of their theory and system, what they're using is, I'm the leader, follow me. And so the business tends to go in this direction. This person at the top, this person will do the most hours, put the most effort in, probably charge the most, take the most money, retail the most, does the most of everything, because that's the salon owner. And then you have all the people below them. Now the problem with this system is that it cannot grow very much to the point where it will only grow to the time that this person starts to get tired, because it's the hardest way to run a business, where you're working on the tools and you're having to manage these people as well. You're having to run the business, but you're doing all the work on the front as well. And what happens is that there's an invisible glass ceiling on top of the rest of the team. And that's why these people at the top find it very hard, which we talked about last podcast, is to motivate them, because they're on the tools. They're so busy having to take so much money and trying to put all the hours in to make this business work, they haven't got the time where they should be spending with the rest of the team. And so these can't see past the salon owner. So where at one point the salon owner was the asset of the company, it was because of the business being in the position they are, all of a sudden the person in the front is now becoming
The chokehold.
absolutely a bit of a liability, because these people are not motivated because they can't see past that person. Now you see this on a lot of price lists where this person charges the most, and sometimes they even put their name up. So you might have graduate stylist, senior stylist, and then the name of the salon owner. And you know that if I was working there, you would stop really pushing yourself forward because nobody can get past the name of the salon owner. So that's why it's very difficult to motivate them. So the question is, how do you grow a business like this using this system? Well, I don't think you can. So what we suggest is that you turn the system round on its head, and we suggest, again, a lovely triangle there. We suggest you run the business from the back. This business is all about your team. Your team are the most important people within the business. They're far more important than the clients. The clients come after the team because it's the team who are going to look after the clients. You can get more clients if you've got a good team, but you can't always get good people. And it takes a long time and a lot of effort and searching and training to get the right people. So here, the person is now leading from the back, still going in that direction, but it's about these people. And you imagine this, instead of the salon owner charging the highest price, you imagine having 4 people charging that, and then 3 people below them charging a little bit more.
As we know, our industry is famed for. Some people think I'm terrible because I'm in it to make money. I don't want to be famous. I just want to be rich. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, that's terrible. You shouldn't say that." Why not? I'm happy to make money, and my staff now, they're making great money. Yeah, we lose staff along the way who don't want that, but. And we've had this conversation before. I've made them into animals, because all they're interested in, our staff meetings we have to have not in work time because they're losing money. It's a problem for people to get their own haircut because, well, I'm going to lose money. And so it's gone a bit the other way, but it's quite nice having these animals that their focus is how do we make more money.
Here, all they've got to do is work on the tools. Here, now you're starting to become a business person.
Well, at the top, you've got a job.
Yes. Here, you're starting to make a business. And this is why, in our opinion, this business and this system down here,
Grow as big as you want it.
you can grow it as big as you want. The problems in this business are halved because you've got time to deal with them. This is the hardest way to run a business, and that's why most people get to this and think the last thing I want to do is start employing more people, because all I can imagine is harder work and negative reasons. Here you start to get the best results from these people, and you've got the time to do it. Now let me just say though, this journey from leading from the front to leading to the back is not a short-term thing. You can't do that in 6 weeks. In fact, in my business, and I've been doing it for over 30 odd years, I still don't feel as if I've got there yet, fully. I feel as if you got to that stage in my business, it means that I could leave the salon for 12 months, come back and find it in a better position than what I left it with. That's the true reflection of leading from the back. And it can be 10, 15, 20 years in the journey from leading from the front to the back. and I've got to tell you, and we both agree with this, is that it's the journey that is so fantastic.
It's not a destination.
It's not the destination, because I don't think you ever get there, is the truth. There's always better, there's always more that you can do. Once you get to here, it means that you've stopped growing, and it isn't in the nature of the person once they get to here. You can't stop growing. And so you might redesign and change direction, but it's a complete journey through your whole career of business. But this is the reason why we believe that most businesses don't grow, because all the thoughts they have are negative about their vision, which is what we spoke about before. The vision of their business here,
Or it's ego driven.
or ego driven, yeah. But here, that is so much more enjoyable, but not just for this person. You imagine that you're in this team, and now you've got in here a structure of promotion. These people want to get to the next level, and they're charging good prices, so they're charging the right price. You cannot follow what they've done in the past. You cannot expect to just open the door and get busy now. You have to have some fundamentals in place.
Yeah.
And these include, you've got to have a vision for the business, you've got to have a wage structure.
That rewards that is set up to reward the team member,
Yep.
so they feel valued, not just from a kind of recognition, but from a financial perspective.
Absolutely.
Oh,
But you see, the message that you gave out a little bit earlier about one of your top stylists who's on £50,000 a year, this is what needs to be pushed.
Yeah.
Is that the successes of this industry are kept in the quiet.
Yeah.
And many people.
And it's not just one of our stylists. We've got, you know.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
that's it.
Richard's the same. So many people don't know how to set their prices, do they? And they tend to look down the high street and around the surrounding area and think, well, how much should we charge? Well, we'll go £1 lower than the salon down the road. That'll put them out of business. That'll sort them out. And that's our price. But it don't work like that. All the prices are sorted out by the figures, and there's a certain way of doing that. But you can see here, you've got what we talked about, motivation. You've got that career path where people they want to get to the top. And so if these people at the top were charging £60, and these people down here was charged £54, let's say, and these people down here were charging £47 or something, you can see every time they get promoted as stylist, they've got the ability to take more money. And once you've got the ability to take more money, you've got the ability to, your
Grow.
wages increase and grow.
And you can grow. Yeah.
The more money you can take, the more money you receive, and you've got a structure of how to get promoted.
The difficulty with this one, one of the other main things with this particular model is that it's a smaller group, and so you're working alongside these people. So are you going to handle or manage a situation? For example, she comes in late, it's only 5 minutes, and I worked late last night. Would you address it with her if you've got to work alongside her or him all day long? Might not. And you leave it, next day it's 10 minutes, next day it's 15 minutes, and then you've created a problem, but you don't want to get rid of her. There's only a few views anyway. If she gets upset, she might leave, and then if she doesn't... the whole model is based on emotion, fear of emotion of the people leaving or being upset or being in a mood or being in a strop. Over here, where you just manage behaviour, it's the system structures that allow you to grow that. Because within that, there are systems, aren't there?
What I tend to say is that straight away we'll put a little, and that's where we are now. This is how we go. This is where we are today, and I'll put today. That's where we are. And it doesn't matter if you're a senior stylist or you're a middle level or an apprentice, or, it doesn't matter what level you are, but we have to come to terms with where we are today. And so we would talk to that person about where they are today, how they feel about it, and all the rest of it. And then we would ask, is that if we put a timeline to this, which this is a timeline, and you could put the timeline into whatever you want. So it could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. After 3 years, depending on what age group you're on, they struggle after that, but let's go up to 5 years. I talked about 10 years not long ago in a team meeting. Oh, no, it's straight over there. So, if we got, what I would ask is that where we are today, where do you want to be? And let's say that in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
And then we would go in 5 years' time. Where do you want to be? And they'd say, well, I want to have been promoted, or I want to earn so much more, or I want to have better skills, or what I want. So we'll put a mark on here, and we would draw a line to where that is in 3 years' time. And we would talk about what that is in 3 years' time. Now, what you're getting is a picture in their mind. And what you're getting is what we talked about before, is a vision. And it's very important for us to get into their mind a vision of where they're going. It's a little bit like when you're selling a house to somebody. They start to picture all the furniture in the house. They're starting to imagine it. It's their vision for it. It's exactly the same principle. Is that they can start to see what it's going to be like in 3 years' time when I've achieved that. And you can say to them, imagine that you're there. How does it feel? Again, you're starting to get a very strong picture of what it's like. They start to get a little bit motivated and they start to get enjoyment from it. So that's where, well, let's go 2 years after that. What is it you want after that? Oh, well, 2 years after that, I might want to be here. And that might be another promotion or 2 promotions. And so we would draw a line onto that. And what does that look like? How much money would you expect to be on then? And how much would you be charging as a stylist? Because it's not so much how much you want to earn we talk about. It's how much you want to be charging. That's what we tend to talk about. So if I'm on £30 for a cut and finish here today, in 3 years' time, I might want to be on 45 to 50 for a cut and finish. Because if you can get up to 45 and 50, it means that I can only pay out wages what people bring in. And it means that it can be earned easier. So you can start to see that we have some sort of pattern here, or we have a sort of a career path where we're going from 30 to 45 to 50. Do you think you could get to that level earlier than 3 years? Then they start to think of all the reasons why they can't or why they could. And it may be that they say, well, actually, I'm not that, my figures look quite good at the moment and I'm doing okay. Maybe I could bring it a little bit more forward. So it's 2 years. Let's have a look at that. 2 years then. So in 2 years' time, you could be charging £45 for a cut and finish. Yeah. What do we need to do to get there? Now what you're doing is, you've got their imagination now, you've got them motivated because they can start to picture themselves where they're going. And they will answer the question is, what do we need to get there? So they'll say, well, I'd like to get a little bit better in colour. Okay then, so we highlight it might be colour that we need to do. My cutting's fine, but I would like to improve on my communication with clients because my retail is a little bit up and down. Now we're starting to get to the real needs of what to achieve their wants. And so I need to get better at colour, I need to get better at communicating with my clients in a consultation to get the best out of my clients. And now we've got a path for a 2-year path to get. Once you start to get the picture in their minds, it's so much easier to motivate somebody, isn't it, than it is when you're just sitting down with somebody and, you're not doing very well with the figures at the moment. And
what it comes is they visualise it.
Yeah.
And so it goes back to the brain can't differentiate between what's imagined and what's real.
Yeah.
So they start to picture themselves in it. And one of the things that comes out of all the research on communication now, especially with young people, is they want regular communication.
Yeah.
You can't lead them through 3 to 6 months anymore. They want kind of monthly. A monthly is about regular, to sort of sit down and say, how am I doing? Where am I going?
Right.
And so what you're saying to them is that I'm going to take time out of my day, or somebody in the team will do that, to go through their figures, and it sort of says, how, are we on track or not? Because you are holding them accountable, because being human, they'll go up and down.
Yeah.
And they can go off track.
Yeah.
But our goal is always just a bit like a business is to bring them back on track. That's what we're talking about, leadership role or managing from behind, if you like, is that the ability to bring people back when you get a sense that they're going off away from what their goals are, or that you can see them losing interest, you can see that something not right about them, something's changed, and then if you're having those regular conversations with them and you're intuitive to that, then you stop them going off track so quickly, and you bring them back on track.
What you're looking for, which is where most people get this wrong, I believe, is that once we set them a target in their mind, you're not looking for where they go off target, you're looking for when they do something right.
Yeah.
Once they do something right, you're
Reinforcing
back
them.
over and you're going,
Well
and
done.
that could be the next day, that could be the next week, but you go over and you go, I saw that colour, because we was talking about colour, I saw that colour, what you done, that was fantastic, and I've set that, we're looking at the colour course later on, but you're sort of emphasising on how well they're doing, rather than trying to wait for something that's not gone right.
It's easy to focus on the negative.
Absolutely.
And as human beings, we're conditioned to do that. So for most human beings, 75% of our sort of internal thought process is negative. It's been conditioned in us. And so it is easy to find the problems, especially if you're looking at life at the time and you're not motivated or things aren't going well. It's a real challenge to find. That's why I said you've got to learn to manage yourself well first, because unless you're managing your own psychology, you're never going to be able to manage the psychology of somebody else.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So you're sort of saying, well, I want them to be more motivated. How do you feel about business at the moment? Oh, I'm having touch with not. You're thinking, well, you know, you're on a lose-lose straight away. It sort of says, well, I know you're going through challenges, but you know how. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of work with that Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yes, that's right.
A fantastic thing where he talks about like a refractory period, and he sort of says that, you know, when something happens to you, and let's talk about business, someone leaves or you get something that can affect you, knock you off course in regard to your own business, how quick can you recover? You know, is it a week? You know, is it a day? Is it an hour? Is it a week? Is it a month? Does it knock you off course so much that you never get back? In other words, how quickly can you manage your psychology to get yourself back on track? And so when we talk about business, you know, over the time that we've had it, from a motivational point of view, we've had lots of business success, but we've had business failure as well. And that knocks your confidence in it. But how quick can you let it go?
Yeah.
You know, motivation comes from your resilience to manage things and then move on.
Yeah.
And stay on track with what your vision is for the business and for that person. And if you can do that for yourself, then it's easy to help people do that, because you could have a stylist that goes off track for a while, and it's your ability to communicate to them that that's okay. I was expecting that anyway, so let's look at what we're doing and how we're going to get this back on track, what's missing, what's changed, what's different. And that's part of more of a kind of mentoring, coaching style of managing than it is managing.
Yeah.
Most management, the word's actually almost wrong really, because we're sort of saying all you're doing is managing people and managing their behaviour. That's quite draining to sort of manage, because there's a negative thing to that really. But if you're mentoring somebody or you're coaching somebody, then you're constantly looking for, as Chris said, the positives in that.
Yeah.
So you're constantly looking for things that work rather than things that don't work.
Just coming back to motivating as well, if we're motivating team members, is that we tend to, our team members have their own figures as well if they're stylists, don't they?
They track their own,
Track their own figures so that they can see how they're growing.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference.
Well, if someone's, one, you can check whether somebody's engaged, because if they're regularly, if they're tracking, if they're not tracking them, then they're not growth
Do you
orientated.
make them do it? Because
no.
or it's an option. If they want to, they can. If they don't want to,
actually, we do make them do it. We do make them do it actually, because we sort of says, well, we still need to look at it. So if we're sitting with a one-to-one and someone turns up with no figures, you're like, well, why wouldn't you do your figures?
and you have a figures book, don't you?
Yeah, we have figures books. Yeah, so they're tracking their own. What you're saying to them is, yeah, you work here and you work for Richard Wallace Hair, and we have systems and structures. But within that, within this organisation, you are in charge of your own destiny. So your destiny is in your hands as much as it is mine. So
Are they
we're both
expected
committed
to grow?
Yeah, they are. Well, they're expected to grow on the first few levels to get off the first few levels. It becomes harder to get promoted as they get up the price list, because you know the client's expectations are different. You know, it's harder to get promoted as you get more expensive because there's certain clients that won't pay that, you know, that high end price. But on the bottom levels, yeah, they're expected. You can't have someone sitting on bottom levels for a long period of time because they're not going to earn any money. They'll become
Which is
demotivated.
that's your concern, that they won't earn enough money.
They won't.
Because you know that's going to be an issue in the future. So your concern is not that they're not growing, it's that you know the problems that's going to be coming up is that they're not going to have enough money, and that's a demotivator.
Yeah.
And then you've got a problem motivating. I think a lot of people would sort of say, well, I find it very difficult to motivate my team. Maybe it's that you're not looking at it from the right way, that you should have been looking at it well before they got to that point. You tend to, first of all, have to have the foundations, which we talked about, the foundations in place, which would be a wage structure.
Yeah.
I feel that pricing is a big one today, because when I'm interviewing people and I ask them, you know, why are you leaving the place where you've left, apart from it being closed down, it keeps cropping up now, but they felt that they couldn't grow.
Yeah.
Which is one of the main reasons why people leave. They couldn't earn enough. And I always have a look at where they're coming from. And I look at the website and I look at the prices. And I can look at the prices of where they've come from, and I can see straight away why you couldn't earn any money. The prices are too low. And these are the reasons why people are demotivated, because they may be trying the hardest, they've got no leadership, so they're trying their hardest, no matter how long they try for, they don't feel as if they're getting anywhere. You've got to get the foundations right, haven't you, Richard? It don't matter how you go about motivating people. If you haven't got the wage structure right and you haven't got the prices correct, there's no way to motivate them long term.
All you've got then is to do the short-term gratification stuff.
Yes. So this one is your product, and we've got to have a class, a good product. The second circle is your business. Skills and knowledge. The strange thing about this one is that the business skills and knowledge is for everybody within the salon. It isn't just for the salon owner. Now, some people, they don't want to talk about business to their team because there are some secrets, their wage structures may be different. They have to know how a business works. If you don't educate your team on how a business works, the chances are they will think this is easy and go and open up around the corner. And you'll wonder and scratch your head and think, why did they do that? Because I've lost all my people now. And it may be that they didn't know enough about business, because once you start to educate them on business, they start to realise how lucky I am to be in a place that charges the right, pays the right commissions, and the reason why they pay them commissions is because the business has to make money as well as them. And so they start to see it in a different way. But if you don't educate them, they only see it in one way. And when they go back home and all the rest of it, you've got them people at home with them. So, I wouldn't work there, they're not paying it. Oh no, they're getting paid, they're charging this, they're making this amount of money. I'd tell you where, tell them on their bike, go and open up your... And they're influenced by them. Now, you'll never ever be able to influence them more than the people where they are at home. But at least you can start to educate. It's no good just the salon owner understanding about business and everybody following.
No.
Everybody has to understand how a business works, where the money goes, so that everybody comes on board.
Yeah.
So that when you're talking to your team, they have an understanding of business, so that they understand where you're coming from as a salon owner and why you're introducing certain changes to the business. Otherwise, you're asking them to do things that they don't understand, and you've got more problems with the team then, if they don't understand why you're asking.
If you don't share it with them, they just think everything, all the money in the till's yours.
Yeah.
You're not paying them very much, and
Yeah.
so it is a win-lose.
Yeah.
You're winning, they're losing. It's not until you explain to them and educate them that they understand that actually it's been set up for everyone to win.
Which is why we ask a lot of the people who are connected with Winning Ways to bring their team on these courses,
Yeah.
because it's very important that they come out of their environment and start to learn.
Well, if you don't
There's no
educate them,
secrets.
I mean, people lose stylists to, whether they go mobile or whether they open a salon. Most don't open salons now, because salons just aren't opening like they used to.
No, they're not. No.
So they're going mobile, or they'll go and rent a chair down the road. And the reason they do that is because they're not educated.
Here we have our product, here we have our business skills, and then the third circle is the delivery of the product, and we call it our client's journey. Everybody has to understand that how we deliver our product to our clients is so important. It has to be consistent.
Business is increasing for us, and we've gone at it in a slightly different way. Everyone does the customer care thing, and we're in the British Hairdressing Business Awards for this customer care. And actually, on my entry, I crossed out every time it said customer care and said we don't do customer care, we do customer delight, because everybody does customer care. McDonald's does customer care. And if I phone up and complain anywhere, they say, "Oh, I'll get you through to our customer care department." I said, "No, can I speak to your customer delight department?" And they say, "We haven't got one." I said, "Oh, I think that's where it's going wrong." So yeah, we want to excel and exceed, and just go a totally different level. But our salons now, we have a bar, but not a bar like everyone else. We have a barman. We do cocktails. We do every type of thing. So in the morning, they have the sort of fresh fruit baskets. There's anything we can do to actually wow that client, because I like being wowed.
We like to call it our consistent client's journey. Everybody has to do the same thing. You lose more clients on the second and third visit than you do on the first, because the first visit you pull out all the red carpet and we've got a new client, and they get more
Party poppers.
They get more time. They get this, that, and, it's a new client, and the second time it's not as good as the first time. But I'll give them another chance, and then the third time it's just inconsistent, and so in the end they look somewhere else. Very important, the client's journey.
I go around, sniff everybody's hair, and literally I just stopped at this girl and I said, "Oh, your hair fascinates me." And I said, in fact, I'm quite worried about it, and I sort of felt it and tugged some out, and I said, I think you've got an iron or a B12 issue. And she said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, that's really weird, because I'm under the doctor because I've got an iron and a B12 deficiency." And the rest of the class were just like, "Oh my God," because it's like...
Just by looking at her
Just
hair.
by looking. And what I'm trying to do when I teach trichology and various things on hair is teach hairdressers how to be a bit of a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Because when clients come in for the consultation, you don't know where it's going to go, and like I said, if I can tell them something about their hair they haven't heard before, but also I can hone in on those areas as well, and the retention rate is a lot better, and it's building client loyalty, because they're not going to go to anyone else because they don't get this sort of information off anyone else.
You've got their trust.
Totally.
And so, if these look simple, but there are a lot of information here within each circle. But at least now we can focus on each circle, and it gives us a structure and a system of how to educate ourselves. And with the triangles, a bit messy now, but with the triangles, you can see that this here, we can work on these. Here, we can't, because we haven't got time. And it's as simple as that, really. It all boils down to time. You haven't got time to do anything. Here, you have got
And if a
time.
business isn't growing,
Yep.
or a stylist isn't growing, and you know that from the numbers, it's either one of those or both. So it's a simple thing to go back and look at that. Either their skills aren't good enough, or the delivery of the product isn't good enough. And the reason you know is because the numbers tell you.
Yeah.
The word failure doesn't come into it. I'm
Yeah.
so focused on, I couldn't think of, failing or not winning. And, I think you have to have that belief.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, then yeah, it's a bit sketchy. But
And it's having that mentality and that attitude that There are tough times, aren't there?
Yeah.
And we all have tough times.
Sleepless nights,
Absolutely.
everything.
But it's that mentality that you...
Pushing you through, isn't it?
I'm not giving up, blimey. I feel like it sometimes, but...
I was involved in another business before, and I used to stay up till after midnight to see the bank account switch over to see whether we could pay certain things. And, I didn't want to ever be like
Where
that.
does that come from? Because I have it, you have it, and you have it.
And I think a lot of successful people do, and I get up early in the morning, and some friends of mine who work in the city in London, they will message me at 5 o'clock in the morning because they're up, they're go-getters, and I think that's partly it. There's not enough hours in the day, really.
But it's what's exciting about life, isn't it?
It is.
It's not sitting on the beach all the time.
I can't get
playing your
enough.
golf.
Well, even when we go on holiday, my wife knows we can only go on holiday where there's Wi-Fi. And we've sunbathed on separate areas of the beach because the Wi-Fi doesn't reach. So I can go just on the edge of the beach and sunbathe there, and she's over there.
Would you say there was a saying that it's not the strongest who will survive, it's not the biggest, it's the ones who can adapt the quickest.
Darwin theory.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
the
You
ones
can
who
adapt,
can adapt the quickest.
change.
Yes.
But you need to get around, which hopefully sharing today will do that.
Encourage people.
You've got to get around people who are willing to share with you and give you the ideas, and
Yeah.
you've got to get out of the salon. You've got to get out of your environment and start to get around people who've got some of the answers that you need to be able to adapt and change.
We've got to learn off each
It's
other.
okay if you can change the quickest, but the shortcut to success is to find people who are already successful and successful today, and avoid the mistakes they made. They'll tell you all what to avoid. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. As long as you trust that, then implement their systems, or some of them, or start working towards them. If someone's successful, the chances are you'll be successful if you've got some of the same systems, traits, and energy that those salons have over the others.
I like being around you guys because it
quite difficult
motivates me, and
to find the time, but it's
sometimes
important.
and if you talk to negative people, oh my God, I soon lose focus and think, I'll check the phone and see if there's anyone a bit more inspirational. I want to be learning from people, and I learn from you guys. And everyone you speak to, there's just one. If I can get one little thing that I can get off them, that's great for me, because we all learn all the time. Nobody's got it perfect, and even when you think you've got this pretty perfect thing, the world changes, and that's the old model. Then we're on the new model. And it's crike.
Absolutely.
What we're saying is that if you've got the right systems in place, then if things do get tough, the systems protect you in tough times.
Because they're tried, tested, they're not something...
They're just winning formulas for what, there's a winning formula for everything that you do. And so, other people are compromising or don't have a formula. When things get tough, you'll compromise on it.
So if you was going to give advice to a salon or potential salon owner,
Or a young salon starting.
yeah, what would be your advice for them?
Definitely speak to other salon owners.
Yeah.
Because opening a salon, you can waste a lot of money. The moment you start opening, you'll get all the sharks from the local paper trying to get you to advertise, and you can waste so much money on it. And looking at your contracts for your phone system, and before you know it, you're tied into a 3-year phone system that isn't what you needed. Do you need to record every call? Because you've recorded a call and Mrs. Smith didn't turn up, and you've got the evidence she did. Are you going to say to her, I got the call, recorded, it's your fault?
If you were starting out today, do you think that you would be able to succeed in the future
It's up to the scale you have.
in today's
Yes.
environment?
Yeah, if I was younger, I would have been bigger. I feel I got a bit hooked into going on the freehold route, whereas you could expand quicker on the leasehold route. But again, negotiating leases is a tricky thing, and making sure your exit is planned when you go in there, because you might outgrow it, and before you know it, you're set up for a load of dilapidation costs and things like that. And
So business education, where would you say that comes
business
in?
education, yeah.
And that's really the purpose of Winning Ways. When I think we first sort of started it, it is to help salons. It's sort of saying that we started small, we didn't just arrive in these type of salons. You know, my first salon was, tiny, but I kind of grew it from being educated. So it's possible, and that's all you're showing them is the steps to. But we haven't done that in the past.
Yes.
The successful people kind of go, well, I'll keep it all to myself. But no, we're saying that you need other salons around you because you want the industry to be seen as stronger. So for me, it is about sharing that information.